Hola, hola. Hello, everyone. Well, thanks before anything. So thanks to Polkadot and Web3 Foundation for hosting these amazing discussions that we have been having until today. Just a friendly reminder that after this talk, we have like a break, and then we have another very interesting talk, 3:30, same place here, about DAOs. There will be people from Friends with Benefits, Meta Label, and Refraction DAO. And after, the program will continue in the canteen here at the downstairs with the presentation with so amazing projects. And just final reminder that your wristband gives you access to tomorrow's program here, same place, which the participation of Koopa Troopa, OpenSea, Thora Foundation, so much more amazing discussion about music and Web3. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Well, welcome back, everyone. I am very excited for this discussion because it's about pushing creative frontiers in Web3. And so Bertrand earlier was talking about use cases that go beyond DeFi. And that's exactly what we're going to hone into today. So we're going to talk about Web3 creative industries. So that's music, film, art, user-owned digital collectibles, and the list goes on. And I'm so excited to be able to explore this topic with two incredible thought leaders in the space. So Finn Martin is from Beatport, and Robyn Vey is from Aventus. And I'm going to start by asking them to introduce themselves with a focus on what brings you into the Web3 creative space. Would you be willing to start, Finn?
Yes. Hi, I'm Finn. So good to be here. Really excited. I'm founder of Define Creative. We're a Web3 venture builder. So we're bringing brands and institutions from Web2 to Web3. And so, we co-initiated Beatport.io. And so we're building a Web3 music platform to really onboard the electronic music industry into the space, and it's been an incredible adventure. We started the project 2 years ago, so it really shows that it's something that takes time, it takes a lot of passion, but I couldn't be more excited because we're soon going to launch, and
So 2 years, there's a lot that's happened in the last 2 years, and it's important. I love the word that you used with passion, because I see so much passion in this space for the change that can happen based off blockchain technology. So I'm going to be excited to talk to you about that. Robyn, how about you? How do you come into this space?
So I'm here representing Aventus. We are the white label marketplace that Beatport is going to be using. We're also a parachain, so we work also together with Polkadot and various other sort of enterprise deals, but one of which is Beatport. Aventus, we onboard enterprises to Web3. That's our main focus. So we don't only have the NFT white label marketplace, we also have kind of our block space layer underneath and then our enterprise tooling on top. And that covers supply chain, loyalty, under which NFTs fall, energy, and beyond. So we have a wide range of tools that we've been developing over the last few years. We've invested 30 million in total into building out our extensive product suite. And our first sort of products went live last year, February. And since then, we've been growing. And as I say, so we're kind of the technology partner, working together with Beatport.
Fantastic. And I didn't introduce myself. My name is Alison McCauley, and I'm with Amplica Labs, which is part of McCourt Technology Group. So I don't know if you saw there was a video that was talking about this event. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you see the words on it?
Yeah.
Because they struck me. So I don't know if you all saw this, but the words said, I wrote it down, all the doubt, all the misunderstanding, all the questions.
And all the answers.
And all the answers. So we may not come up with all the answers on this discussion, but I'm hoping that we come up with some insights. But one thing that struck me about that is it is a really hard time in the space. The last 3 quarters in particular have been, how would you describe it? Like brutal, challenging, difficult. And so I wanted to actually just start off by asking, how are y'all feeling? How are you feeling in this particular moment in the space?
To be honest, I mean, I know it has potentially been quite, it's been brutal, but I also think, I mean, I'm pretty optimistic, to be honest. I think there have been a lot of projects kind of riding off of the hype and not really having those strong fundamentals, and I think that's really key to the space, right? Projects that have those fundamentals, those real-world application, that's really important, that's going to be key, and that's going to also be what's actually going to drive kind of, you know, mass adoption of blockchain across all industries. So I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic. We're sitting here, we have this whole Web3 conference, right? There's real substance to this technology, and I think the future looks really bright. So I'm
optimistic. It's not like we haven't been through challenging times before in the space. It's cyclical.
Exactly. I mean, it's like all spaces, right? It goes up, it goes down. It was the same with, you know, the internet, the .com bust, well, you know, back in the day. But yeah, no, I think the future looks, and like, I mean, I was just listening to the previous talk and how they were saying, you know, in the future, we're not even going to realize that we're using blockchain. It's just kind of like it's going to fade into the background, and I really see that happening. More and more, so I mean, I'm optimistic. And in the music space, I mean, I
would even go one step further. I think I'm really excited, and to be honest, I know, of course, it's challenging times, but I think it's actually it's really good in the long term, right? Because you know, it kind of, I think it's good that this kind of gold rush that was in the space. You know, also attracted a lot of people who entered the space for the wrong reasons, right? And so when we started working on the Beatport.io project, it was like, you know, bull market, everything was kind of like, the prices were going crazy. And we made a deliberate decision to say, like, hey, we wait out, we want to really bring in, like, build a structure, build a foundation that's super strong. And it's not about, you know, a quick money grab, it's really about building value for the community and servicing the electronic music community in our case, right? So I actually think it's good because we're in a time now where the technology is so strong and the tools are getting better, and it's really it's about building something with substance. So
it's an interesting pattern to these. So I think that it does feel like, you know, the Web 2 cycles, but more frequent cycles. Many of them. And I also think it's interesting that while we've had these moments where we're bringing a lot of people into the space that are excited about some of the sexy, interesting, and yes, money-making things, and every cycle is a downturn, many leave, but the real building that takes place is continuing to grow and evolve over time. And what I've also noticed and had some conversations around is how real change can sometimes feel a little boring. This is infrastructure level stuff that's continuing to be built and evolved, and every single year it gets so much more mature, but you don't necessarily see it coming to life in that situation. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, it sort of just fades into the background. You're going to, again, you're going to open an app on your phone, or, you know, it's just going to, the technology is just going to be behind it, and you're not even going to realize. It's the same with our marketplace. I mean, well, it will be for you guys as well when you're going to be launching soon. So we also, it's a very seamless experience for someone coming onto the marketplace. They can log in with their Google account. They don't have to necessarily log in through MetaMask or anything like that. If they want to buy an NFT, they have the option to purchase it in crypto or also in fiat. And it's simply through Stripe, a Stripe integration, so you can buy it with your credit card. Then we also have a wallet, so your NFT will be stored in a wallet on the actual marketplace. So you don't have to go and set up a wallet. It's not a separate sort of place where your NFT is stored. So that sort of user experience is really important, I think, as well. And that's key.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why, you know, for us with Beatport.io, we really wanted to, you know, tap into exactly that kind of seamless experience. Because if I could, just by a show of hands, just want to see who of you guys is in the music industry. Can you just raise a hand, please? And who's already working with Web3 technology, blockchain technology? Okay, cool, yeah, good. Just wanted to see, right? Because so I think for us it was really like, because Beatport is like the biggest electronic music platform in the world, right? The largest, like 46 million unique users per year, 12 million tracks, 90,000 labels, more than 1.5 million engaged DJs and producers. And I would say a lot of those actually are coming from the Web 2 world, right? And they don't own crypto yet, and they don't own a wallet yet.
Or they've heard these scary stories as well, right? I mean, media sometimes likes to talk about all the negatives and not always all the amazing things that are happening. There are a few, but they're a bit scared, right? They hear all these crypto scams and things, but that's not really what the industry is about. That's not really what, the technology is. You know, crypto is a part of it for sure, but it's also, the kind of the technology is. Yeah, exactly. And
so we want to, democratize these tools and make it very accessible, very, very easy. So if you log on to Beatport.io, you don't need to own you don't need to own any crypto. You can pay with fiat. It's like with your credit card. Your wallet gets created automatically at the checkout, so you don't need to set up a wallet. If you have a MetaMask, great, but you don't need to, right? And I think that's really, really important to kind of onboard a lot of people into that system and make it accessible and make it easy and fun to interact with.
Now, I want to dive into this topic of adoption, because many people ask, when mass adoption? When? And I think it's really interesting to look at the creative industries and how they meet with Web3, because creative industries are that's what people are consuming every day, and they're driven to try new things in this space. And so I'm really curious how you think about triggers of mass adoption. You talked to millions of users, triggers of mass adoption for Web3 that are spearheaded or led by the creative industries. So how do you think about that?
Well, I think it does take patience, right? So that's why I think you have to see it on a longer time scale, and you have to think about what can we do collectively to to create products and experiences that we want to use every day, right? Because that's what it comes down to. And so for us, we're really onboarding a lot of the big labels right now that are on Beatport to step into the space that have been, holding back before, and said, well, let's see how this plays out, right? So I think it's really important to build use cases, build, with big partners, but also with independent collectives, right? Because I think also Primavera Sound is also a lot about the independent artists, smaller artists. And for instance, we're one of the first drops we're going to do is with a LGBTQ plus collective called He, She, They. They have amazing, amazing events all over the world. It's really about empowering that queer community, and we've been developing something really special with them, and can't wait to share it with their community, right? So, to answer your question, it's really about tapping into these communities and giving these communities tools that they can, expand their palette of what they can do today.
Robyn, I want to hear your thoughts on this, but I first want to dive into something that you brought up, Finn, because you said we need to be patient, and yet we're all searching for this killer app, right? And so is there going to be a killer app, or is this about adoption by communities over time that changes the way that we expect our digital experience to be, and takes, it's more gradual, what do you think?
I'll leave the killer app question to you.
I don't see there being one killer app necessarily that's going to cause mass adoption. I think really key is going to be education in the space. We see that not only with our enterprise clients, but I also think in, enterprise, I'm talking more like on the supply chain side when we're talking to major telcos and et cetera. But I also think in the music space and also in the film space, because we work with, actually we recently announced that we're working with the Wolf of Wall Street. The IP rights holders approached us wanting to celebrate the 10-year anniversary, which is this December, can you believe it? And they have loads of, I think it's hundreds of hours of footage that never made it into the film. Bloopers, scenes that no one's ever seen, and more. And then, of course, they also have all the memorabilia, so all the clothing, etc. I can talk about it for ages, so I won't go into it. But I think key was also education in these different industries, right? So we were talking to another major film studio, and the big thing for them was they were also saying they think in future they're going to probably have to hire people on set that is like they're a Web3 coordinator or someone, to really help everyone understand the capabilities of Web3 and create content for Web3. They really think that it's going to be something that's going to grow in their industry, and the key for them is education, so educating them. And I think, again, like educating maybe the music labels, educating the artists, maybe they don't realize that they can be releasing tracks and, from the royalty point of view, they get all the profits, they take back ownership. I think that's really important, but they maybe don't realize that they could do that through NFTs. Same for fans. They don't maybe realize that it's an opportunity for them to like what Snoop Dogg did where, you could maybe own a little bit of a track. They don't know that that's possible and that could be the future. So education is key for me in mass adoption. I don't think it's going to be one app. But I think what you also were talking about communities, I think that is also so interesting, the topic of building communities in the spaces and how we can really,
And co-creation, right? Because I think the other, ownership obviously is one of the big, core values of Web3, but the other one is co-creation. And for us, it's really important to say that, Beatport.io is, we see this as a testing ground to build this together with the labels, with the artists, with the creators.
Exactly.
And it's important to say that we don't have the answers. We have the questions. We want to answer them together, right? And I think that's
and the community helps lead it.
The community.
Or the fans. The fans can also then tell the artists what they want to see next. Same for for Wall Street project that we're doing. So it's also going to be community driven. They're going to tell us sort of what they want next, which I think is really exciting for you guys as well. What do they want to see from the artists? Do they want to have a live stream? Do they want to maybe, be rewarded because they went to the concert and afterwards they get an NFT? Do they, there's so many different things.
So I'd love to dive into this a little bit more and could you both bring to life a little bit more about what it is, how will the experience of consuming, do you think, change once we get to more maturity around these? So you mentioned a few different examples, but what is it like? Will I, when I'm consuming music, how will that change between now and say, 3 to 5 years from now?
What will be like? Exactly how it's going to change. I think the metaverse is going to maybe be a bigger part of things. We're going to have metaverse viewing parties. That element is going to come in more and more, I think. I don't think it's going to completely change the way in which we consume music, because music, I don't know, music's been around, maybe there's going to be like AI-generated music, that kind of, that could change a little bit more. AI artists, we'll see them sort of appearing. But I do think music in itself, maybe you can talk more about music in itself, but to me.
And I'm curious too about the intersection between, how does the intersection between physical and digital consumption change, or does it, or what does it look like?
So I think one really important aspect of collectibles, NFTs are obviously the unlockable part, right? So it's like, what can the fans unlock, right? And that can be digital experiences, that can be in real life experiences. So for us at Beatport.io, it's really important to always have these collective moments where you come together, right? Because I think at the end of the day, get even goosebumps thinking about it, because there's no other thing that, like coming together in a club or at a festival and experiencing music together. But we can enhance that, and we can create new experiences digitally that you can unlock that you cannot do in the real world, right? So we really want to add these new layers into it and give the fans also ownership. I think that's the other thing. To your question, like, how does it change? Well, I think you can own a piece of your favorite artist, and you get agency in, you can maybe, be part of, like, what's the track list on the next album? What's the set list? What do you want to experience? And these kind of like this connection between fan and artist, I think that is where Web3 is incredibly strong, really offers new tools and perspectives to
And I was even thinking for like artists, like a new artist coming coming on the scene. You know, those initial fans that supported them from the very beginning, by maybe potentially owning an NFT from way back in the day. You know, the first ever sort of concert they went to, if there's a tiny little venue with 10, 50 people, you know, they can prove that they were there. They can prove that they were there from the beginning, and they've been a fan along the whole journey. And I think for an artist, that's also amazing, to kind of see that and interact with those fans, those real fans, and potentially also maybe reward them. You know, maybe if you went to that gig 10 years ago and now you're, I don't know, you're a Taylor Swift fan back in the day, now you're at the venue with 60, 70,000 people, you get a different experience just to kind of like reward you for being.
And now you can prove it, because
you
on chain you can say, look, I can prove I was there, you know.
The proof of everything. Yeah. I think that's what's also really powerful. And yeah, I mean,
what I'm hearing is it's about changing the relationships with creators and communities. And it's, you know, I was talking to a musician who had been doing a lot of experimentation in the space with NFTs, and said, you know, as musicians, we're rewarded financially for appealing to as many people as possible, which kind of dumbs down a lot of what we do. I want to explore more deeply, and something that may not appeal to a lot of people. With NFTs, it flips it. I can do that. I can have that bigger, stronger relationship with fewer people and still make the same amount. Like, it's just, it can flip it in an interesting way.
Fundamentally even, because I don't know if you heard about this 1,000 fans theory.
Yeah.
Right, so it's that says that, you know, if you have 1,000 really engaged fans, you can make a living as an artist. And that, to me, actually is super powerful and super important, right? Because in my past life, you know, I was a recording artist. I was coming from that creator economy, was signed to, you know, labels, had a record label, had a publishing company, but what really was always about, like, how can you express yourself and how can you monetize that as an artist, and how can you do that in a meaningful way, right? And I think Web3 and NFTs especially kind of give creators the tool to say, well, if I have this connection with 1,000 fans, just to pick a number, I can monetize that in a way that I can focus on my art, and I can make really meaningful art that I want, and give that and share that with my, you know, fans. And you can really flip the script and become independent, and with just 1,000 fans.
So I've got a question I want to build on that. So what I think we might also, this is just a hypothesis, is that when we have that relationship with fans, couldn't it also be that we could have diverse monetization opportunities, because there's this sort of blending between, if I have the relationship, maybe, you know, is it music, or is it more film, or is it art? What am I creating? Are the spaces blending a little bit? You know, in a way, so have you heard that term, getting Amazoned? So Amazon originally sold books, and then it was gone into healthcare, it's gone into groceries, it's gone to every single thing. Could artists take a relationship with a fan and use it to monetize in a diverse means? Is that a possible model? Is there a blending of the spaces that comes through these technologies?
Yeah, I mean, I think the spaces, obviously there's music and films, right? So that's already, there's that. There's also going to be like an artist who potentially creates an album cover. So there is a little blending already in the space. I think the unique thing is it could also be, we'll have more sort of community or user-generated content potentially, where communities are getting involved in creating these different assets, maybe creating the tracks or writing lyrics, or in the film space, I know we were talking to some other film partners, potentially deciding on who the director is going to be, you know, who's going to be the actor for X character, you know, so I think there's going to be a blend. Maybe not necessarily, there is already a blend between them. I think there's going to be more of a blend between the fan or the community member and the actual artwork or film or music track itself. I think that's going to be the
also, I think the products are going to change, right? So it's going to be, I think once you have that relationship as the artist or creator, you know, whether that's the label or the artist, with the fans directly, you can experiment, and that's really important, to kind of try different projects and see what sticks, right? Is it more like the fan experience? Is it a ticketing Is it a collectible? Is it, you know, a metaverse experience, right? So I think these things will improve and change over time. But it's really about having that connection and giving that on.
And the community can also make decisions, right? So it can be community driven. You can try these different things. For Wolf of Wall Street, for example, we're going to also let the community decide on what they want to see next. You know, we're also going to have a token gated games as part of it. I can't give too much away because it's, you know, that's already a little alpha, a little, you know, a little bit of information.
Alpha, you heard it here.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I think that's, yeah, and Wolf of Wall Street, for example, they're going to be making decisions about things. So there's going to be that sort of token aspect as well where they can, you know, decide. But it's very much going to be a community-driven project. And I think for you guys as well, you know, you try something new, ask them. That's the thing, that's the beauty about it is the artist and the fan or the filmmaker, the producer and the, you know, consumer, there's that direct link between them. They can actually get that direct feedback, you know, there's no middleman. And I mean, I think that's Web3 as a whole, right? Cutting out the middleman a little bit and having that, you know, a little bit also, I guess, what you were doing at Frequency as well, with the social side of things.
Yeah, because what you're talking about is really changing the shape of innovation completely. And it's interesting, you mentioned Frequency. So Frequency is decentralized social networking that can be done at scale, which is difficult in blockchain. And so we're seeing the importance of decentralized social networking. When a shared social graph mashes up with any of these areas, you get the ability to have this substrate with which an entire community can innovate and change the shape of what they are using and consuming in their digital experience. So the mashups are very interesting, I think, in this space.
For sure.
What do you think about, so, you know, when we're thinking about mashups, there's always an area I love to dive into. What do you think about AI and the creative industries and blockchain? Like, where's the mashup? Where's the interesting story in the mashup there?
Yeah, I mean, I touched upon it a little bit already, right? So I think we're going to be seeing more potentially AI-generated artwork, AI artists, AI musicians, maybe even like certain AI celebrities, you know, appearing then in films and things as well. So I think there will be a little bit of a mashup on that front.
Are they owned by the community? Are they owned by individuals?
I'm not sure yet.
What is ownership?
I think that's the exciting part. I don't think it has to necessarily be, it could be in the form of a DAO that, you know, like a DAO owns various sort of AI artists, could be musicians, artists, filmmakers, etc. It could be something like that. But it could just be an individual. I think that's the beauty of this. You don't have to be like a major record label or, you know, you can just be in your room and, take part and be part of it. So I don't know if AI was going to, I think it's going to blend. Maybe it will take over, but I think there's going to be more of a blend between both. That's my view. But it would be interesting, Finn, what do you think? Because you're in the music space.
I mean, we're already using it for projects, right? For the creation side of projects to really come up with completely new results and being able to, create in a different way. And I think Grimes had a very interesting use case. I don't know if you heard about it, but she has her own platform, Elf Tech, where you can actually use her voice and, you know, create your own tracks with her voice, right?
That's
so
awesome.
It's really democratizing access, even to something as personal as your voice, which, you know, sounds scary, but if you do it proactively as an artist, like she does, it's very powerful, right? So I think it's in this experimentation phase, and let's find out what works and what we're comfortable to do. And really, it's about being authentic, right? So for us, it's really all about the culture, the music culture, and doing what's authentic within that culture of each scene, right? So I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer. It's really specific.
And also, too, one thing on AI, too, is I think that the ability for blockchain to give us information on authenticity and provenance is going to be really important as it becomes harder to tell what's real and what's not.
Yeah. Precisely.
So it'll be fascinating to watch. I think one of the headlines from all this is to make sure you're keeping in touch with so many of the experiments in the space so you can extrapolate what is coming next, because we don't know exactly. All right, so one last question. We're at time, but I want to just have some final words from each of you. You know, a lot of young people are graduating onto their next, you know, phase in life. My daughter is actually here. She just graduated from high school. And I'm curious, for these young adults, what do you hope, how do you hope their world will be different because of these technologies when they're your age? Do you have a hope for them?
I think, from my point of view, we're talking specifically about music and film, etc. I think it's that relationship, that they can have that closer relationship and that they can have more influence over maybe what they're hearing. You know, for example, maybe they can be involved in creating tracks. If you're a musician, you can then use the voice of an artist, or, you know, I think the possibilities are endless. I don't have a specific hope. How about you, Finn? How do you see it?
Yeah, I would say I just hope that they're, you know, that they can really tap into all these possibilities that are, you know, the technologies that are there already, and really create something out of their own for them, right? So I think that's also why we're, you know, why it's so great to work with Polkadot, because through Polkadot, you know, it's not just one of the greenest blockchains, but I love this ecosystem, you know, how we met, and all these other, you know, you get in touch with so many amazing projects and use cases, and it really just like expands your mind. So I think if that generation kind of does that for another, you know, 10 years, there's no limits to, you know, what that generation will create with that. And I think that's what I'm really excited to see, like,
see where they take it.
See where they take it.
This is a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much. Thank you, Finn Martin. Thank you, Robyn Vey.
Thank you, Alison.
For sharing your insights.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. Super. Good.